Hello guys, how are you? Try to do some stuff here. Hope you guys are alright. First time here streaming live. And let me play this intro here.
There was a documentary just put out yesterday,
Yep.
a good one, by the way, people should check out, called Flatten the Curve, by a bunch of pilots and military people. That's our term. That's our flat Earth term.
Alright guys, hope you guys doing fine today. Just let me know if you guys are hear me alright, okay? Very first time streaming live. So I had to watch a couple of tutorials last night and today. And so I hope everything is okay. Just let me know here on the chat here if you guys can hear me well. Can you guys hear me well? Should be okay. So we got an interesting show today, okay? So I hope everybody's okay. So Billy, ukulele, Minister Straker, better than gold, fix the firmament. God bless you guys. Thanks for being here. Glad you guys hear me well. So we got a couple of things to talk about it. So the way I set up, I don't have a camera on my laptop, so I'm using my phone. So sometimes if I'm not looking at you guys, it's because I'm sharing the screen. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. There is a lot of interesting stuff here for us to talk about. So I've been watching this debate. I watched this debate between Austin, which Sid gets it, and Brian and these two Globers here, Mr. Sensible and the conspiracy culture guy, the cats, whatever. So this is an image that this guy, Mr. Sensible, brought to his debate, showing he sent a balloon up 35 kilometers, 34 kilometers up, proving, see this little tiny image here says, oh, that's the curvature of Earth, but you can see here when he was releasing the balloon, you already see the curvature of the Earth. So that's not really curvature. It's the kind of lens that he was using. So the point I want to make, like these two, during the debate, that's the first thing that we're going to talk today. They brought up that they used the words from the pilot Wolfie 6020 saying that the airplanes don't have to adjust for curvature because they fly from waypoint to waypoint. But I'm going to explain how these guys have no idea what they're talking about, or they are just being deceitful. Same thing with this other guy here. He also debated Austin, the professor Brian Maers. He also used the same thing, that airplanes don't have to be, the pilots don't have to be constantly adjusting for curvature because airplanes fly from waypoint to waypoint. I mean, I'm going to describe here how these people make no sense at all. So let me Let's go here to this, of course, the Gleason's map. So I have here several Gleason's map, Gleason's map. Let me find this one here. Where is it? Mm, just find here, guys, real quick. It is the Amelia Earhart. I don't want to have to download it again. It's here somewhere. All right, we're gonna be talking about all this stuff here today, but we're gonna try to make it short, okay? About an hour, 75 minutes. That's the our class time. So I'm gonna make it as if we were having a class, just to, Okay, let's do this one here. Uh, so this is an airplane flying. This is a picture taken. I think this was one of the very first flights around the the Earth. Okay, uh, but the thing is, they fly from point to point. They don't have to constantly be turning, left or right. So that's why I need to find the other map. Let me find real quick here. We're gonna be talking about all this, and I had it. Let's just need to find Amelia Earhart. I don't want to have to download again, but I have it online. Okay, if that's the case, we can always go online and download the map. But where is it? All right, let's start with this Zeppelin. Hmm. I think this one here we can have an idea about what we want to say. Graphs. Sorry, guys, just a second here. Let me find it. I'm pretty sure I got it all here last night. So, all right, let me play this video then. This is the same thing. Okay, and I'll pause the video and I explain my point. Okay, this is the Graf Zeppelin flight, okay, around the world. So it's the same concept, all right? So let's say that this is a waypoint. This is another waypoint. So on the flat Earth, pilots or airplanes, they don't have to be constantly adjusting left or right because you fly from destination to destination, from point to point. So I'm going to find today, in a few minutes, the Amelia Earhart, which we can explain much better. But that's the way you do. Let's say this is a waypoint. So the airplane uh, departs from Germany to Tokyo. It flies straight, on level. When it gets to Tokyo, it's going to go to Los Angeles, fly straight on level. And of course, there are the waypoints along the way, picking up, the position of the airplane. But the airplane is flying straight on level. So the waypoints does not really justify the lack of the pilot not having to adjust for curvature, because regardless of the waypoints on the ball Earth, the Earth is a sphere, so it has a curvature. It has to be adjusted. So the waypoints mean nothing, and flying over a ball as far as curvature is concerned. This idea, like they were saying, like, oh, pilots don't have to adjust for curvature because of the waypoints. They fly from waypoints to waypoints. It means nothing because waypoints to waypoints just means that they fly from one destination to another straight on level, okay, and pick up those signals along the way. That means nothing about curvature. All right, so unfortunately, with it gets it, let them uh, go back past with this argument, which is a very poor argument. So let me check here the chat real quick while I try to find that Amelia Earhart flight path. Come on, send listens attached treaty. So we're gonna be talking about a couple of flights today, and I do plan to have this uh, every week. All right, not on Tuesdays. Like right now, it's Tuesday, 10 or 9 a.m. here in Japan. So I plan to have it on Mondays, which is going to be Sunday nights in the US, which is going to be much better for some of you guys to be present and take part of the live stream. So I'm going to go ahead and download here. I have to go to my own website, my channel, where we have every video of mine on YouTube. You have, if you go there, you can download the Amelia Earhart flight flight routes on the Gleason's map. Okay, so just go to, maybe that's an opportunity for us to go, and so I can show you guys. So let's go to my channel here, and so I hope you guys are doing fine. And I'm on this StreamYard and still learning this stuff. Not this one. Closing all these tabs here, a whole bunch of tabs. So I do have some more TikTok videos coming up. I've been really selecting them. There are quite a few still, but just like on YouTube, TikTok is doing the same as far as promoting all the junk stuff and demoting all the good stuff, all the flat earth stuff. So I was listening to Caleb the other day. He was telling that he used to get 700,000 views on his TikToks, and now he can hardly get 70,000, which is 10% of what was of the amount of traffic he was getting before. So TikTok, Google, YouTube, all that stuff, they all pretty much work, together. So let me click on one of these videos. If you go here on the description, every one of my videos I have here, like free high resolution flat earth map here. And I have Amelia Earhart flight route here. So I'm gonna have to download it right now, or I can just use it online. Perhaps I can use online and go back to the point that I wanted to make. So I plan to have guests here. Okay, so today, that's why it's episode number 0, because it's just a test drive. I really need to get the hang of it, how to work with StreamYard. But next week, I plan to have a guest here. And let me go ahead and download this file. Don't need this, so it's downloading. So I do plan to have guests here. And okay, we downloaded. Let's go ahead and bring it to my. Hold on, guys. Just give me 1 second. Okay, this one here. All right, so let me now that we have this map here, explain how this thing work on the flat earth. Okay, finally, this is the flight route of Amelia Earhart over the flat earth. All right, she left Oakland, Tucson, New Orleans, Miami. So just imagine these are waypoints, okay? So you see an airplane on the flat earth does not have to be constantly flying and adjusting because we fly from destination to destination. So imagine that those destinations are waypoints. Okay, so on the flat Earth, the pilot does not have to be constantly steering or banking right or left because you fly from destination to destination. And since it's a flat Earth, the waypoints does not mean that the automatic pilot is automatically adjusting for curvature because there's no such thing as curvature. So look at this. This was her flight route. Okay, she left California, and just see these points, the cities where she stopped. All those were stops. Sometimes she stopped for a day. She spent the night, sometimes just for a couple of hours. But that's how she flew around the flat Earth. Now, on the ball Earth, the problem with the ball Earth is that she would have to manually adjust for curvature. Imagine, when was it? 1930s, 20s? I think it was 1920s, 30s when she took this flight. There was not a lot of automatic. There was no laser gyros or anything like that. So of course she was flying over a flat plane. She couldn't be adjusting for curvature every few miles. So, but today's, if imagine these are waypoints, it's just pick up the signals of the airplane that it's going that way, giving the airplane's position, but it has nothing to do with curvature. All right, this idea. So first, Wolf 6020 said that airplanes have to don't need to be adjusting constantly because of waypoints. It makes no sense. And then Mr. Sensible and the Cats guy used this argument debating with Sid, gets it, Austin. And right there, I wish Austin, could see this because waypoints do not adjust for curvature. It just shows the position of the plane. And the pilot flies straight and level from point to point, from destination to destination. So on the flat Earth, you don't have to be constantly adjusting right to left. But on the ball Earth, you would have to constantly be adjusting for the curvature because in the ball Earth, you have to adjust for curvature. There's no other way. Whether it's 1 mile, 10 miles, 100 miles, 1,000 miles, you have to be adjusted for curvature constantly. So waypoints has nothing to do with curvature of the Earth, right? Even if you fly from point to point, let's say that you're flying from Karachi in Pakistan to Calcutta in India, you still would have to adjust for curvature. Waypoints mean nothing there, all right? So this argument by Professor Myers, Brent, whatever was his name, and the two guys there, the Mr. Sensible and the other guy, Katz, whatever, it's a poor argument, and so it has nothing to do with the so-called curvature of the Earth. Okay. All right. So before we go on to the next, I want to check here. The I'm gonna go to YouTube. Okay, I'm on StreamYard. I'm gonna see if I can go here to YouTube. And remember, guys, I'm still learning this stuff here. So I see here new comments. Let me check those new comments. And if you have questions, of course, this is all about flight routes today. We're going to be talking about flight routes. So let me check here the comments real quick. So a big shout out to everyone, Better Than Gold, everybody who's here. And thank you, Big Pine Sailing. I believe this is more land, whether it's more pond. We're going to be talking about that. I think I'm planning to have an episode where we're going to be talking about that stuff, okay? More land. Could see it skeptic too. Russia too small compared to what? Well, I don't know about that. For example, South America, Africa. Okay, I think everything is fine here. Yeah, that Mr. Sensible, fine, funny guy. So I'm going to invite the professor, the physics professor here, because I was a student, right? So I went to college in the US. I attended college there. And I remember my first day in biology class. I have been a Christian for, since I was a teenager. So I had questions, about, they had, he was teaching the evolution theory. So in the very first day of class, he said, we are not allowed, you guys not allowed to ask any questions besides what's in the book. Okay, what's in the book? He gave our textbooks and that. I'm saying you can only ask questions about the textbook. Don't bring any other questions. I'm not gonna answer those questions. It kind of limits you. You are in college where you bring many questions. You want to know this, but no, you got to follow the textbook, which has been already programmed to give you standardized uh, answers. So. Uh, So if I bring this physics professor here, I want to ask him questions. It's not a debate. I don't want to be debating anybody, but I have questions, just like I had when I was in college. So I spent so many years in college, I couldn't ask questions. And people say, well, why you go to the internet, get information from the internet? Well, you can get answers from when you're in college. You're not allowed to. At least when I was in college, and I had questions, and the professor said, you're not allowed to ask questions besides the ones here on the textbook. So let me check here the comments real quick. I'm sharing my screen. Let me. So let me see here. This one, any pilot that talks about gravitation is lying to themselves. They know the Earth does not spin under their plane. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Gravity is a conspiracy theory. It is. Howdy, Mr. Eddie. Dan Morris. Howdy, man. Hi. So even their PhD thesis, there is only allowed within the field of academic. Yeah, all this, I was listening to, so I heard the debate, and Brian Myers, whatever his name is, he keeps saying, well, is this a peer review paper, whatever? You got to understand, this is a mafia, all right? That is a mafia. So if you're not part of the mafia, you're not allowed to bring your ideas or your subjects. Okay, let's say I also watched I like Sanjanis, even though he's still a Bawarter, but he defends the Bible, and he has some good points on geocentrism. All right, and who knows, maybe one day he shows up here. I would invite him to come here, so I can ask him questions as well. All right, but this is like a club, okay? George Carlin, he said there's a big club, you're not allowed to be in there. So all these peer review, all these guys, the academia, it's like a mafia. If you don't think like them, if you don't agree with their position, you're not going to be allowed in the club, all right? And I went to college in Alabama, in USA. So back in Alabama, I learned this history while I was there, and I love Alabama. I do love Alabama. Um, but at that time, I think in the 50s or something, there was like some golf clubs where only white people were allowed, not black people were not allowed in the golf club. So you see this academia, these peer review papers, whatever, these peer guys, it's like that. It's like a club. If you don't think like that, if you don't promote the heliocentric model, you're just not going to be allowed. So Dr. Sanjanis was explaining that some of his students tried to submit papers to university on geocentrism, and they just don't accept that paper. You know, that's their policy. So they don't give a chance. All right. So this is like being in North Korea, live in North Korea, and try to establish a democratic party. This system will not allow. So the system, the heliocentric system, which to me, and I will talk about here, it's nothing more than a political system, is in power. And once they are in power, they don't allow the competition. All right, that's why they play dirty tricks, and they play dirty tricks. They play dirty tricks on, on our platforms. All right, you cannot Google this because you're not going to get the result. I was watching. video the other day, and right away it was in the autoplay mode. So the next video, it was one of the professor, not Professor Dave. And I was like, well, like I was on autoplay watching this flat video and immediately start playing this anti-flat video. They have all the systems set up in their favor. Right? There's no fairness. The game is rigged, in their favor. Right? So since we were talking about this uh, Dr. Sanjanis and the things being rigged, this is a quote from a newspaper published in the 1800s. In the 1800s, more specifically in 1872, they were trying to establish heliocentric model in China. Okay, so the Chinese astronomers, they published this in the Times of London in 1872. We have better philosophers and men of higher intelligence than any of you have ever been able to produce. You tell us that the earth goes round the sun, when we know by our sense that it does not. If you want to use your eyes and believe what you see, you must be deaf to all teaching and instruction, and we will have nothing to do with you. So, Japan did it pretty much. Japan was even more extreme than that because when the Jesuits were here and they tried to establish the heliocentric model, they were always expelled from Japan. They kicked their butts out of Japan. Get the heck out of here. Go back to Europe, go back to the Vatican, and because they were trying to establish their political system disguised as a cosmology here in Japan. So the Chinese did the same thing. They didn't want any part, and that was in 1872. Right? They wanted no part with heliocentric model, but because it's a political system, and they played, dirty tricks, and you can imagine the heliocentric model is just like uh, dirty politics. How you do, behind the curtains or under the table deals or whatever to get it established. All right. So they led China to war. There was the Opium War, and they divided China. They did pretty much. And finally, in 1903, they had to. There was no other option for them. They had to accept the heliocentric model. Same thing in Japan. I mentioned this on my, I think a couple of days ago. I mentioned. Oh yeah. So if you watch the helio sorcery, we're gonna go there and I'm gonna read that the helio sorcery documentary. Let's go there. I don't want to be skipping from the line of thought. Okay, so we're talking about how the heliocentric model, is nothing but a political system. All right, once it gets established, it's like communism. We won't uh, give any room for anybody else. Okay, and they call it science. All right, so this is a very good documentary, Heliosorcery. Uh, But I pinned this comment here from Bill. Shout out to Bill. Bill is an American living in Tokyo for 30 years. He's married to a Japanese woman just like me. He has two daughters just like me, about the same ages. So I pinned his comment here. It says, thank you, Eddie. I enjoyed this video very much. By the way, the Shinto Shikusetsu will be held on December 90th. This event celebrates the birthday of the Japanese Empress. Before the war, the big war, Second World War, was the most important Shinto national holiday. The kanji is worth noting as that's the kanji, the erchi, means earth, and Q means eternal. During the Black Sheep occupation, that's when the Freemason Commodore Perry came over, bombed two cities, and forced Japan. In Japan, is known as the rape of Japan. Okay, they were forced, just like raping a woman, open her legs, and that's what they did. During the Black Sheik occupation in the Meiji period, Japan formally changed the kanji to where Q means ball. So they were forced to have the word ball there. When means earth. Japan was forced to remove the Shikusetsu holiday from the calendar by the Jesuit scholars who controlled the Allied occupation after the war. I believe the war was fought over this simple little kanji, which has so great an importance. Shinto remains in defiance of the Jesuit order by retaining the kanji, which means flat earth. All right. So we don't, people here, it's clear, we don't want your political system, your heliocentric model here. Get this back to Europe, you know. But, just like it's a political system, they force wars, they bomb the heck out of nations. So you can imagine this occupation. And I have here a map, all right? All these guys that I'm presenting for you today, I talked about in the past, okay? So this is here, you see the Jesuit symbol here from Rome, is spreading all over the world. So if you go and see that flat earth, there's like a picture of a whole bunch of flat earth like all over Australia and New Zealand because they all had their own flat earth models, which it was a physical flat earth with a dome on top. Right? South America, here North America, right? Canada. And what did they do? Wherever they went, they brought their ball and took their land. Okay, they left the ball there. Okay, oh, you keep looking at the stars, whatever, and took their land. All right, that's nothing but a political system to submit the whole world into Rome's dominion. That's just what it is. It's nothing more. There's no science in heliocentric model. So that's why when I see these guys debating, I say, well, this is a very important movie. Heliosorcery is a very important movie because it takes you back to the beginning, how this whole thing started. All right. It's nothing but a way to dominate, to conquer lands and subjugate people to the power of Europe, the power of London. All right. So before going to the next one, uh, let me try. If for some reason, guys, I get knocked out, I'm gonna come back, okay? And I'm just check here the Treehouse Bill. Yeah, Bill, man, I just read your quote here, okay? All right, thanks. Okay, let me try to go to YouTube here. Uh, view on YouTube. Okay, I'm gonna try to view this on YouTube. Not sure how that's gonna look like. Continue on YouTube. So I might go back. Don't know. Just wanna see how things are. I'm not familiar. Before we move on to the next topic. So shout out for everybody there. Okay. Let me close these windows here and this big one. Amelia Earhart, we don't need her right now. And we don't need the Gleason's Jesuit invasion taking over. Okay. So, okay, I see here it's a little bit slow. So perhaps I should go back to StreamYard. Okay. I'm going to go back to StreamYard. Just wanted to see how things are going here. All right. So let me read here. If you see any questions, guys, please ask me. Um, I don't even know how many people are watching this. Yeah, that Helios sorcery, please, guys. It's amazing. You gotta watch that stuff. Okay, so Bill, I just read your uh, post here. So let's move on. Let's talk more about flights, since this is all about flights. I don't want to get too much on uh, the Bulworth and the Helio sorcery stuff today. So the next one that I will be talking about, I want to talk about, I don't know if you guys have seen it. Globers are funny, Globers are really funny. So they talk about inertia, how you're inside an airplane, inside a car, you throw a ball up, and they had this. I've seen a couple of videos how they use that. Okay, there's tractors. If you think about tractors, the farmers, those tractors that work on farm, they're very slow. Okay, they probably reach what 10 miles per hour, right? If speeding, but normally they're very slow. So they have this video where there are two tractors, and in between there's like an elastic bed, and the guy jumping. Okay, so the tractors are going really, really, really slow while the guy is jumping, and they want to prove inertia with that. Okay, at the same time they say that Earth is spinning around the sun at 66,000 miles per hour. 66.6 thousand miles per hour. Okay, 666. So this is a flight. It's Aloha Flight 243. It happened a couple of years ago. So this flight, they were flying, and the top of the plane it blew off. You know, it just blew off. It was an old plane, a 727, I believe. There were cracks already, and they were still flying with that plane. So what happened? Mid-flight, the top of the plane blew off. The depressurization sent a whole bunch of people flying, including flight attendants. Some of the bodies were never recovered because they were flying over the ocean, over the Pacific Ocean, right? And there was no communication between the pilot and the rest of the plane because all the electronics connected, the speakers, whatever, was on the top of the plane and got ripped apart when the airplane exploded. Now, can you imagine this plane flying at, let's say, 500 miles per hour, 400 miles per hour ground speed with no top? So there were many people who were just, dragged out of the plane because of the wind. All right. So the ones who survived is because they were all strapped with their seat belts on. Everything they had just flew away because of the wind. So why don't they use an example like this when trying to explain inertia? You see how not just the silly, it's embarrassing for the physics professor, okay? A physics professor, or those guys, Mr. Sensible, whoever is the other pilot, like Wolf 6020 and the others, Ballard pilots. They try to explain inertia with examples where they are inside an airplane with the whole structure, fuselage, steel all over. I take the bullet train here in Japan, and it's amazing. You don't even feel the water moving, how smooth that thing is. But if they remove the whole fuselage, I mean, all our papers, everything would blow away, flow away. Okay, so why don't they use an example that's real? Like, for example, I have my window open here. If I go outside, I have a picnic in the park, looking at the skies, which is being sprayed right now. You know, we're not moving. You're not spinning. This is not inertia. This is that means that the Earth is stationary. All right. So these guys constantly bring some examples that's totally out of reality to explain what we perceive as reality. All right. So this is flight Aloha Airlines flight 243, and the top of the airplane blew off. Now there is another one very similar, which was a TWA where the cargo compartment didn't close well, and mid-flight it ripped off, and a whole bunch of the parts of the fuselage, also dragging people out because of the depressurization. But whoever remained there had to be properly tied down to the chair because they couldn't even walk. So if those guys, the physics professor debating there, use examples that correspond to reality. Okay, don't bring those silly examples because normally you can convince people who don't know much better. All right, and that's most of those guys are like Agent Smith. They're just there to prevent people from opening their minds. So they give those silly examples. Not Professor Dave, also he used that inside the train. People throwing a ball. You got to use something like this. Tell one of these guys to throw anything up and see if it falls back to their hands. Okay. And let me show here a video. I have a couple of videos here too to illustrate what I'm saying. This guy here. I'll check the chat in a minute, guys. So if you have any questions, okay. All right, so look at this guy. He's riding what, 60, 70 miles per hour. He can't hardly talk. Okay. Look at his mouth. All right. He can't even close his mouth. All right. He's driving a Jeep and the windshield, he took it down. Look at 70 miles, 112 kilometers. Look at 70 miles. All right, 80 miles. I tell him to throw anything a ball up at this moment. Why? This is only 70 miles, guys, and you're telling me Earth is going 67,000 miles per hour. You don't feel for because of inertia. I mean, have some shame, Professor whatever, you know, Brian Myers or Professor Dave, or, pilot. Have some shame in your face. I mean, how can you use those examples? All right. You should be embarrassed. That's why, I would love to be back in class in college as I was, listening all that stuff, and I couldn't ask any questions. So that's why I'm going to invite those physics professor here if they want to come, because I want to ask them questions. The questions that I couldn't ask when I was in college. Okay. And I want to ask them questions. All right. Look at this guy. He can't hardly close his mouth at 80 miles per hour. And you want us to believe that we are speeding at 66,600 miles per hour around the sun. I mean, have some shame, guys. I mean, I don't know. Okay, this is embarrassing. I think if I don't know. And I understand money talks. Okay, money talks. And some of those professors, like that guy, Krauss, whatever his name is, Krauss, he was teaching at the University of Arizona. And his salary there was $160,000 a year, about $10,000 a month. And I mean, of course they're gonna lie because they don't want to lose their jobs. So they're gonna keep lying to people and bringing those silly examples and make fun of flat earthers. But please, guys, open your eyes. I know that I'm talking mostly with flat earthers right now, but I mean, please have some. All right. Uh, I do want to talk about this, may perhaps in future live streams. Okay, those wolves in sheep clothing, Christians who were supposed to be defending the Bible, which is a flat Earth book, but instead they are on the other side. They are defending the heliocentric political system, which is not really a cosmology system, it's just a political system. But some other time we're going to be talking about. I'm just giving you some hints of what to expect in uh, the coming live streams. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this on the screen right now before I read the comments. So let me choose a picture here before we go and read some comments. Actually, I'm gonna choose this one here, this video. Okay, let me see if I can read comments and while display this at the same time. Hold on, guys. Getting hang of this thing here. So don't need this. Don't need this. Don't need this. And we can leave this one here for now. All right, so let me read some comments here, guys, real quick. Let me go back to this. Let's see here. I think I just have to click here. All right, so let me read some of the comments here before we go back. So I want to make those like uh, change this. Yeah, I want to make this like a weekly, right? Weekly live stream, so we can bring some uh, guests, all right? So let me read it here real quick. So I'm back in college, flat earth bungee exchange up in Brazil, and it's bad. Yeah, I know. I mean, you can't ask questions, you gotta follow their rules. It's not a place anymore where you open your mind, it's where you close it even more. Exactly. Sunflower, we are moving across the universe at 500,000 miles per hour. I mean, it's embarrassing for this. It's totally embarrassing. I think they make fool of themselves. And I was talking to a physics professor from Brazil. Not really talking. We were just exchanging comments. I mean, how can they go to bed and sleep knowing that everything they teach in a classroom is the contrary of what we observe when we just go to the park and have a picnic? I mean, all right, let me see here, guys. Okay, I think we are up to date here. So let's go ahead and talk about this movie. Yeah, let me go back and share the screen. Okay, I think it's this one. Sorry, guys, I'm still learning how to do everything here. All right, so you see there on the screen, this is actual data. In 2019, all the data from January, see here, it says August. It's because it's plain. Let me go back to the beginning. All right, January, and then February. So all the data from NOAA, North Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, and also from the Japanese Weather Department or something like that, the Chinese Meteorological Service. It was all put together. And then you can see here, Riley, these are the cyclone here, and you, typhoon, whatever. And you see another one here, another one, because this is all real data put together of the whole year 2019. What did this guy do? He's from the Philippines. He put it all into a projection, a flat Earth map. All right, right here, you see the speed of the winds right here. Okay, these are the jet streams out there on the other side along the Antarctic ring. Right, you see how fast it is. You can it gets to speed up to 250 miles per hour, perhaps even more than that. But this is real data. So see this line here is the Greenwich line, the time zones, right? So imagine an airplane coming, let's say from here, crossing, flying right along this line right here. Okay, let's say the airplane is flying from one side to another. You have to understand, like the airplane has to adjust. The automatic pilot will be adjusting because the airplane has to maintain its course, its path, right? So the winds will blow. If you're trying to fly, but the wind is blowing to this direction, the automatic pilot will correct, will make corrections. When it gets to this part here, where the winds are blowing from east to west, the same thing, you have to correct to the other side, right? So as the airplane is flying from, let's say, from Australia to North America here, it's going to have to adjust from winds from west to east, and then again from east to west, from west to east, from east to west. So it's a constant adjustment as the airplane is flying through the atmosphere. So the corrections made by the autopilot, it has nothing to do with curvature of the Earth. It has nothing to do. It's just adjusting for the corrections that the airplane eventually will suffer some problems going uh, flying straight on an atmosphere that is so active. It's very active. The atmosphere is extremely active. So another one that I'm going to show you here. hmm, right. Flight routes. I think it's this one here. Folder. No. Yeah. It's this one here. The same way. I So the same way, the airplane, the autopilot will make those corrections from winds coming from the easterly or westerly. Okay, the same thing. There are winds going from up and down. Yes, we do, and I'm gonna show you guys here. This is a quick illustration. So this today episode's all about that. So we have descending air, okay, ascending air. So imagine the airplane is not only correcting for winds coming from the west or from the east. It's also correcting, constantly correcting, because as the airplane is flying, winds are pushing the airplane up or down. Okay, so it has to be constantly making these corrections. All right, and that's what the autopilot does. All those corrections are made because of the means in which the airplane is flying through. Right, has nothing to do with curvature. There's nothing because there's no curvature, right? So as Joshua Silva had, and if you watch Flatten the Curve, which is always a good documentary to go back and watch, he says it specifically, he looked for the manuals where Coriolis effect, that is not even mentioned there because the corrections are made because of the winds. No, there's no such thing as Coriolis effect because Earth does not spin, all right? It's put in your mouth and repeat it. It's just like that saying, if you repeat something over and over and over, what happens? It becomes something true. So they keep repeating this stuff. Oh, Coriolis effect is because of the curvature, blah, 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 blah. They repeat over and over again so to brainwashing people, but Earth does not spin, right? So, all right, so let's talk about other flight route here. So this is a flight from, let me find the other one from Sydney. It's here somewhere. Mm, Auckland, this one. Okay, so there is this flat earth pastor from Peru. He's a really good pastor, okay, but all his sermons are in Spanish. He doesn't do anything in English. So he was telling like 30 years ago, when he was very young, he bought a ticket to fly to Sydney from Lima to Sydney, and the ticket says it's a direct flight. But when he was flying, it stopped in Los Angeles, and he could not understand, what was he doing in Los Angeles. And it was only when now that he became a flat earth that he could understand what happened. His story is very similar to mine, and I'm going to show you in a few minutes here. So that's why he had to stop in Los Angeles because Earth is not a ball. He cannot fly from Lima to Peru. He cannot. He has to stop in Los Angeles because Earth is not a ball. All you have to do is look at the flat Earth map and you can understand why from Lima he had to make a stop in Los Angeles because that's the route of the airplane. So when I tell you it's very similar to my story, it's because I also, when I worked for the airline, I could not understand why our flights from Rio or even from Argentina, because at that time Argentina had their soccer team flying to Sydney as well, and they also went through Los Angeles, and I never understood. It was only when I got hold of the flat Earth map that I could understand what went on. So from Rio, they had to stop in Los Angeles and Sydney because Earth is flat, is not a ball. They could not fly, even though the company had a flight from Rio to Chile, Santiago, Chile. I thought, well, maybe they will stop. That's when I went to the airport and the soccer team was departing to go to Australia for the tournament, the anniversary of the 200th birthday of the nation of Australia. So I was thinking, oh, okay, they're going to fly from Rio to Chile, Santiago from Chile to Sydney. That's what I had in mind. And then, like, no, they're going to, they were in Los Angeles. And I was like, what? I couldn't understand why. And I had this, for 30 years until I saw the flat Earth map. Once I saw the flat Earth map, I said, wow, I know, now I know why they had to stop in LA because it's just not possible to fly from straight from well, it is possible now because they have extended range airplanes, all right, airplanes that can fly uh, longer, be in air longer, okay, and they always had actually, but used to be like special planes like the Air Force One. I think the Air Force One is able to fly for, well, I don't know, like the Brazilian, one of the Brazilian mechanics, he works for the presidential. Uh, Let me go back to this map here real quick. He does maintenance for the presidential airplane in Brazil. The Brazilian official, Brazilian Air Force One, whatever. So he does maintenance. And he told, that was on an interview, he said that he himself had worked on that airplane. That airplane is able to remain flying for up to 20 hours because it's equipped with extra fuel tanks, whatever, for that. All right. So he said that that airplane can fly from Rio to Japan nonstop if it's necessary, if that's come to be the case. All right, that's not my words, his words. So I believe Air Force One is also capable of being in the air for several hours more than the regular airplane. Okay. So the same thing here for these flights coming from Sydney to Santiago. He said that he believes those planes are also not just like any other regular plane, are special planes. They can fly much faster, and also they are helped with the jet streams here, as we just saw the animation. Which is gonna take me to my one of the last things that I want to talk about it. So back in 2019, Alan Joyce from Qantas, he was giving several interviews, and he was in New York with that flight from New York back to Sydney. A non-stop flight was going to be the very first one. So that was part of a project of long-range flights. Okay, long-range flights. I'm not sure if they are still going along with that, but that was part. And my question is, let me find. Okay, yeah, this one. So my question was, why can't they fly from Sydney straight to Mexico City? On the ball earth, that would be easy. Let me close this and open that Mexico City. Hmm. Hold on, guys, just a second. Okay, I gotta go back here. Flight routes. Let me see here. Lima, Peru, Auckland, Mexico City. I had one here, Mexico City to Lima, Sydney. I don't know where is my uh, Auckland to Mexico City. I had one that is Sydney. Let me pick up this one here. But I have one that's Sydney. Sydney to Mexico City. Mexico City is right here, okay? So I had one similar. Don't know where it is. Maybe next time. Auckland to Mexico City. Let me take this one here, Auckland to Mexico City. All right, so I also had one that's Sydney to Mexico City. So I always wonder why now they couldn't fly straight from Sydney to Mexico City. So back in 2019, they had this Qantas had this project of long haul flights, and okay, so I was going through reading all their projects and the future projects. So they had one. I don't know if they still have it, but they were planning to fly straight from from Sydney to Mexico City, starting in 2024. It makes you wonder why, you know. So why is this important? Let me show you here. Because supposedly United Airlines already fly from Sydney to Houston over Mexico. Okay. And Qantas also has a flight from Sydney to Dallas over Mexico. Supposedly, this is the route on the Ballworth. So if they are already flying over Mexico, why do they have to wait until 2024 when new aircrafts will be introduced and with the longer capacity, and you know, it's because they this is not the real route, and we talked about that. You know, I've talked about this several years ago because the real route is this one here. No flights coming from Australia really fly south to Hawaii. We have Hawaii right here. They all fly north of Hawaii. They do all because Earth is flat. There's no way. That's why there's no way on the ball for the flights coming from the ball fly over Mexico and land in Houston. This flight comes from the north here, lands in Houston, then you go to Mexico City. Now, if you're sitting from, hold on, guys, let me just close the door here real quick. Hold on. Sorry, guys, I'm back. So if you are a citizen from Mexico and you live in Australia and you want to fly to Mexico, you got to fly. You have to stop either San Francisco or Los Angeles or Vancouver or Houston, and then you go to Mexico. I mean, right there tells you that there's something wrong. All right. So there are no flights really flying over Mexico City, right, coming from Australia. Okay, they all come. This is the flight route they do. Of course, they show animations and simulations of a ball flying over that route, but it's not possible, guys. It's just not possible. So they were planning to start this flight from Mexico to uh, straight to from Sydney to Mexico, starting in 2024. Okay, 2024. All right, so let me see what else I have as far as flights. There was something here that I want to show you. This thing here, real quick. So, I mean, I have tried to illustrate several times that flying with the jet streams is like walking on this thing here, on the walk walking belt or whatever they call. You see these a lot in airports. Okay, so you see here, number one, this guy is just standing there. Let's say this is the airplane flying, but when he walks, he goes much faster. So this is the equivalent of an airplane flying with the jet streams. Okay, so even though the airplane is still flying 500 miles per hour ground speed, it shows it's being carried. You add another 250 miles per hour. So this is a perfect example. And look at the guy trying to go back. Okay, so if we had this atmosphere really flying with the ball, I mean, how can the airplane, fly back and fly from the east coast to the west coast? I mean, it would just hover there, like an air helicopter just hovering, and the destination comes to you, right? So, I mean, I don't know what's going on with all these physics professors, and I don't know if they don't think. No, not sure, guys. So I'm gonna go back to the chat right now and see if we can now just talk. Okay, let me see if this is okay like that. Let's see like this. Yeah. So I hope you guys have enjoyed so far. This is the very first one. Thank you, like RV. I plan to have one of these with him, but let's see, guys. Sometimes I don't feel really well, as I have explained. I have this problem called uh, uh, adrenal insufficiency, which I'm gonna be showing some of this stuff. Perhaps I should show right now. So I thank you guys, my subscribers who have constantly sending me like tips. So I'm taking this stuff here, okay? Just showing. Don't want to have YouTube censoring me properly. This is all stuff that people tell me to take, and this stuff here, okay? And also have apple cider. And one thing that's helped me a lot is this salt I mix with water, helps my cortisol level. But I'm always having these ups and downs. So it was really good for me to be able to be here today. I really was like, may the Lord, I don't know, perhaps bless me that we could do it today. Now, next week, I plan to be back. It's not going to be on Tuesday. It's going to be a day before. It's going to be on Monday, same time. And I'm going to bring a guest. If you guys remember, let me go back here real quick. I made a video presentation when I was at RV about the tsunamis, okay? And how the tsunamis, well, I cannot share my screen right now. It's not showing there. Let me see if I can. You are sharing entire screen. No, not yet. Let me share my screen one more time. This? No, it's not this. It's this one here. Okay, so when I was at RV, I was explaining to him, how the waves and all the power, even though the tsunami was down here, it never really wraps around Antarctica. It spreads on this region right here. Okay, so I'm gonna bring a guy here. He knows a lot about waves, and he's the one who made one math professor. I thought he was a physics professor, but he was a math professor. He made him cry. And one thing about that guy, he was going to debate three physics professor. So there is a document from NASA, which I'm going to bring next week. I'm going to show to you guys. So the document, if you read, talks about waves in the oceans, how the water in the ocean is flat, and the waves travel flat over the flat ocean, right? And one of the physics professor who was going to debate fake flip wrote about it 12 years ago, a paper, those academic papers that you publish. He had published a paper 12 years ago talking exactly about that. The oceans were flat and the waves travel flat, okay? And I believe this physics professor even forgot about this paper, but Fake Flip knew about the paper. He read the paper, all right? So he went to this debate to talk about waves. And at the very beginning, guys, the debate just started like 2 minutes when this professor was talking about, the ball worth, and then, well, why did you write a paper saying the waves are flat over a flat ocean? Immediately, they closed down the stream. They closed down the stream like they was gone. No, less than only 2 minutes, right? And I'm gonna be bringing this guy here. So let me see what else. We have 6 minutes left. I want to keep it in really 75 minutes. I don't want people to be too tired later to be watching the uh, live stream later. Okay. Let me see here. One more. Uh, oh, my language is Portuguese. I'm originally from Brazil. My main language is Portuguese, but I have been speaking English for over 30 years. Okay. I lived in the US. I went to college there. I married to a Japanese woman, and I'm even going to share some pictures here. No, next week I'll do that next week, not today. Uh, I'm going to be uploading a video, really maybe personal. And sorry guys, I don't have super chat. I don't even know how to do that stuff. I'm trying, YouTube. It's they don't allow me to do any uh, monetization, and I can't find how to do any stuff like that. Let me see, Eddie. Can you show flight QR 920 on the AE map? Uh, I'm not familiar with this. I'm going to be looking at. Okay. Let me see what else. I'm so sorry, guys. I wasn't keeping up with much of the screen because I was presenting my stuff. Zetetsky YouTube, shout out to you. Hi, low. Okay, Tommy Jones, Sunflowers, Salvatore Papadillo. Where's the tsunami info? Well, go back to my channel. See there. A couple weeks ago, I have there the tsunami. Okay, you can watch the whole live stream with RV, 2 hours long, or you just the 15 minutes that I have there. Okay, let me see. I was flying over into down my to Australia. Okay. All right, so let me see what else, guys. Fermented garlic honey. Yes, I drink a lot of ginger. Okay, here in Japan, they use ginger when you eat raw fish, and you have to eat with ginger because ginger kills all the bacteria. So I love um, ginger. I love ginger regardless. Shout out to RV. Yes. So RV has a new channel. Let me see what else. I am Muslim carnivore. Your English is good. Thank you, Sunflower. Being, speaking it for more than my own language because my two daughters were born in the West, so they are native speakers, and we talk every day. Okay. So let me see what else. Next, Panzan. My wife loves her accent. Thank you, better than gold. It's Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, steak tartar. Okay. I like it rare. So I tried to bring some informations about flights today. It can be helpful for some of you. Most of you already know a lot about flights. I don't see any. So I'm going to look at that flight QR 920 on the AE map, and perhaps next week I'll talk about it before we talk with the guest. He's going to have 45 minutes, about 50 minutes, but I'm going to try to keep always 75 minutes and once a week. I still have some TikToks videos to make it public. They are all unlisted right now, but I have like 7, so I don't want to overload my channel with too many at the same time. So I'll see if I can release 1 or 2 a week. All right, guys. So it's almost over. I thank you guys for being here. First time, sorry for any problems that I might have had today because I'm not really that familiar with live stream, and I'm actually live streaming from my phone. I'm just using my laptop to share screen. But let me see. They do fly over Mexico. There's a video from a guy in Central Mex filming flight QF7 overhead. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have to check that stuff. Okay. Or if there was just one case of one flight flying over that region over there. So I don't know about it. It's very weird flying over Mexico all these years, but not able to actually fly from Sydney to Mexico City. waiting for another airplane with higher capacity. So I don't know. Maybe they just took off from LA and went around, flew over Mexico, just to pretend. We never know. The enemy has many tricks under their leaves if you watch it, sorcery, helio sorcery. All right, guys, last minute. Thank you all very much for being here. I'm going to play the uh, video one more time. And let me see here. Brand, share screen. I don't know. I don't even know how to do this. So let me see here. I'm going to play this closing. And it was very nice talking to you guys. Let me see if it works. And you guys have a good day. I'll hope to see you again next week live. But I'll be uploading videos. And if you want to share this live stream with anybody about flights, okay? So thank you guys. I'll see you next time.
There was a documentary just put out yesterday, a good one, by the way, people should check out, called Flatten the Curve, by a bunch of pilots and military people. That's our term. That's our flat Earth term.